As chair of the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and in accordance with the Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to the Executive Order of 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note there's no physical location to observe and listen to the meeting, which was authorized by the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is confirmed that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Google Meet's platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate during this meeting through the Google Meets platform, and the public has access to listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through the dialing of the following number: 401-589-5664, and the number is 230-292-632, hashtag, or by clicking on the following website, meet@google.com/ddx-apoj-xfy. Providing the public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Google Meets and the instructions as provided on the town website at rollinsford.nh.us. Providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there was a problem with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 534-149 or email at admin@rollinsford.nh.us. Adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access, in the event that the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's begin by taking the roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, also please state whether there is anybody in the room with you during this meeting, which is required by the right to know law. Okay. Miles?
Present and alone.
Paul?
Present and alone.
And I am present and alone. So, okay, so we've called the meeting to order. Is there any community input? Salma's with us as well. Okay.
Nobody's present.
Nobody's present. Okay. Consent calendar, approval of the minutes of the 4th and the 12th. Any changes by any of you?
Nope, those all look good to me.
Me too. So by consensus, I guess we have to take it as a roll call, I think. So acceptance, well, it's under the consent. Do I have to do a roll call on a consent, Caroline?
You should vote to approve the consent calendar, which means everything all at once. And yes, that should be roll call.
Okay. So
I'll move that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call. Miles?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Denise? Yes. Okay. So then the next order of business is department head business. Police department. Bob was here. Did he go? Is he still there?
I'm still here. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hey, Bob.
Hello.
I see on the roll call here, it says hazardous pay over 2 hours. I'm assuming Caroline put that on there because we actually had an incident 2 weeks ago where 2 officers had to physically restrain somebody as a result of a domestic violence assault. The person assaulted one of the police officers, and this person and whatnot. And originally, I'd put the 2 officers in for 2.5 hours each. And it's my understanding that initially the town only paid 2 hours. So there was some concern whether the board agreed upon 2 hours for the incident, or, as I recall, proposing that a minimum of 2 hours and/or for the duration of the event should it last longer than 2 hours.
I just want to add that the minutes are vague. The minutes just say for 2 hours. So it would be helpful to have board clarification about how the board feels about that, just about that previous incident. But then we might revisit that conversation in the context of the first responder stipend, which is later in the agenda, and how the board feels about providing the state-funded weekly stipend for both police and fire.
Okay, Miles and Paul, I think I recall that it was a minimum of 2 hours.
Yeah, I think minimum 2 hours. I can't see any problem with 2.5, or, if it was 3 because of an incident like that, it shouldn't be an issue. We can
Yeah.
go back and re-edit the minutes if that's how we should do it, say a minimum 2 hours.
Well, but I think what Caroline is asking that we make sure it's clear in this minute, and these minutes, to make sure that we don't have it going forward, right?
Well, so that whatever the situation is going forward, that we're not continuing to come back to the board for clarification about the intent of the approval. So if there's a minimum of 2 hours, is there a cap? So that one incident is done, and it happens to be 2.5 hours, but we don't know how long another incident might take. So, overall guidance on, is it a minimum of 2 hours that could extend for a very long time, or something would be helpful. And then also, I don't know if it makes sense to bring in the first responder stipend into this conversation to see if that changes the board's will in any way. But it shouldn't play into the incident, I would say, that already happened, because that's a done incident. It's just, clarification for what should be paid on the incident that already passed, and then a further ruling on, does the board want to participate in the first responder stipend that is paid for by the state? I would recommend that we do take advantage of this because it's state funded and it's appropriate, and that part is great. There are 2 things to know about the first responder stipend. The first of which is that the payroll taxes that the town will incur as a result of the stipend is not funded under that same program. But if we choose to, we can seek reimbursement for the payroll taxes through CARES Act fund monies. So it's still reimbursable. The other thing to know is that the stipend will change, and Bob, this is important for you to know too, that it's going to change the overtime calculation for anybody receiving the stipend. So it effectively changes their hourly rate for the purpose of deciding what their overtime rate is going to be. And that part is not going to be funded by CARES Act or anybody else unless that overtime qualifies for reimbursement for CARES Act. I'm trying not to get too far in the weeds here with this, but for example, with detail, the detail rate may change somebody's detail rate, but that detail isn't now all of a sudden reimbursable through CARES Act fund money, for example.
Why are they going to get detail rate?
They're not going to get detail rate. My point is that, breaking this down into steps, does want to participate in the first responder stipend? And if so, then the stipend itself is reimbursable through the state, but the payroll taxes are not reimbursable through the same program, but we can choose to use CARES Act money funding for payroll taxes. So that part is fine. But the other part to know, just to be out in the open with it, is that we have to recalculate every officer's overtime rate. Their overtime rate is no longer 1.5 times their regular rate. It's their regular rate now includes this first responder stipend just for the purpose of calculating what the overtime rate is. That's Department of Labor law. So overtime in detail is now more expensive than it would otherwise be. Not by any significant amount. I can't calculate what that would be because there's no way to know how much overtime or detail they would work, but it has to apply to all of their earnings. Their overtime rate has to get recalculated. These earnings. This is the complication of giving somebody a credit for not taking health insurance, for example. Anytime you give anybody any kind of bonus money or different money, it calculates into their overtime rate. It changes their overtime rate.
Why? I don't understand it. This is a stipend that the state is offering, A lump sum stipend. Does each officer get the same lump sum stipend?
All full-timers get, anybody over 30 hours gets $300 a week, and anyone less than 30 hours gets $150 a week. It's just a Department of Labor rule that it recalculates their overtime rate during that period. So there was just discussion about that in the listserv. It just complicates things. I'm sure we can handle it. I just can't quantify the cost of it. But at the same time, I don't anticipate the difference to be really significant.
I just don't know why it's getting involved at all with the overtime rate. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Because
I can't, yeah, it's just Department of Labor rule. Any wages, any compensation in any way has to be calculated into their overtime rate.
what
So-
about the contractual services that they do under extra duty detail? Does that calculate into there?
In theory, it does.
So if the person is working on their contracted service position or whatever you call it, that is going to affect all of overtime based on that?
Well, it will, except to say full-time officers, they, I believe, work overtime for detail, whereas part-time, you're now paying $44 an hour for detail, and that's a detail rate. So I don't think anybody's overtime is more than that, except for probably the chiefs. And so it doesn't apply to everybody. So it probably is going to be very insignificant for detail. It's going to be more significant for overtime earnings, which we don't have a lot of currently. But in theory, in principle, it would affect the detail rate if the detail rate were simply 1.5 times the regular rate. So, and I don't mean to complicate things. And I don't think it's a reason not to do the stipend, because it's, it would be detrimental, I think, to not do the stipend where everybody else in the region and everybody else in the state is getting the stipend. It's just something to be aware of.
Yeah. I don't, personally, I don't, we should not get the stipend. We absolutely think we should give that to them. I thought the question then why this is on there is, do we give them hazard pay for the 2 hours or more when they're getting from the state as well? I thought that was the question.
Well, that is the question, but first you have to decide as a group, are you going to offer the first responder stipend? And so I thought it was worthwhile to revisit that conversation just to be sure you're all on board with that before we make the decision about how that may or may not impact the town's hazard pay.
Okay, so, all right, Paul and Miles, comments?
Yeah, I absolutely think we should take the stipend. That makes sense to me. The extra bit we might have to pay for overtime, I think we can handle that. Do I think we should be giving a stipend and hazard pay? I don't. I think we should give one or the other.
Okay, Paul?
Well, I guess the question I ask is, so did they get this $300 stipend either way?
Yes.
We have to accept it, right?
The town has to choose to allow it.
Right.
All right, so we already decided that we're going to allow that.
That's a decision down on 4C.
So getting back to Bob's question though, is, the two officers had 2.5 hours. They were paid for the 2.5 hours, not 2, right?
Well, they were paid for 2 and then they're going to get the half hour after the next pay period, right, Caroline?
Well, that's the question before you, and that's the reason why it ended up on the agenda, is because in revisiting the minutes to be sure we were following the intent of the board, it was vague in the minutes. So,
Okay. All right, let's clarify what the intention of the board was. I believe Bob asked for hazard pay to be minimum of 2 hours, or how long it takes to resolve that situation that is happening.
Correct.
Bob?
That is correct.
Okay. So that was the intent. I think that's what we voted on, but if you want to have a clearer vote on it and a clearer motion, we can revisit it tonight and vote for it to make sure it is clear of the 2 hour, at least a minimum of 2 hours, or whenever the call or the hazard situation stops. Would be what I would recommend.
I would appreciate a clarifying vote.
Okay.
Since
make
the
that
previous
motion.
vote was vague. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Right, I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion is that the hazard is a minimum of 2 hours or until the hazard situation is complete. Correct?
Right, the only thing I have to say to that is, I mean, obviously, if it's extremely excessive, there'd have to be a reason. I mean, if there's some reason why there's 20 hours, then it obviously would be a reason why, you know what I mean? That's the only thing. I mean, Bob, you're usually looking at 2 or 4 hours or something like that. You're not gonna be looking at.
Correct. No, we're not looking
30
at
hours anyway, so.
5, 6, 7, no.
It's
Yeah,
mostly-
But there's
totally
nothing to
agreeing.
prevent that, is there?
Pardon me?
There's nothing that would prevent that, as we've
Well, yeah.
discussed.
As a rule, no. However, it would have to be one heck of a mass incident in town for it to be more longer than 3 hours or 4 hours.
And Bob, you would be,
In that case, we might be having a different conversation anyway.
Right, I'm in agreement with it.
and Bob, you would be advised of the situation if it was a really long-standing situation going on. You or the
Correct.
lieutenant, for sure.
Right, it would be me, and certainly if I felt that it was something that was going to last, significantly longer than a couple hours, the select board and Caroline would get a notification, just so you'd be
Okay.
aware of the situation.
All right, I think that's fair. Okay, so Paul and Miles, do you agree with the motion that's gone forwarded?
Yes.
Okay,
A roll call, please, because they all have to be roll call. I'm really
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm getting there.
Okay, thank you.
Want to make sure everyone is clear, so we know
All right.
how it's
Okay,
going.
thank you.
Okay, so I will call the vote, and I will do a roll call vote, and Miles,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Denise, yes. Okay, the motion has passed.
Okay,
Okay, so do we want to go down to 4C while we're on there? Just to make sure we understand. I understand what you're saying, Caroline. Totally don't understand how come overtime is being affected by a stipend, to be honest with you.
that's fair. I can't really comment on it except to say it is the rule of the Department of Labor that any and all kind of compensation must be used in the calculation of the overtime rate.
I think we lost Denise.
Did we? We
Yeah.
did. Okay, hold on a second.
Recording.
I hope her device didn't die.
Are you aware of a technique that might have been turned into?
Oh, she is.
Back on.
You're muted, Denise. Welcome back.
I can see the mic's off.
Denise, you're still muted.
There we go. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So do we want to go down to the first responder stipend and talk about that while
Yep.
still with us? Oh, and
Yep.
the fire is with us as well. So Caroline, you're saying that we have to accept the money as a town, correct? Is that what you're saying?
You have to, the board, to decide to offer this stipend to your people who qualify to receive it.
Okay. All right. Miles and Paul, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
Me too. Yeah.
So
I don't see why it wouldn't, unless Caroline, knows a drawback, if there's some taxes we have to pay over and above or something like that.
Really, the only drawback is, as I said, the overtime, which I think is really insignificant because
No,
the
that's minimal. I can tell you that's
larger part is reimbursable.
Okay. No, I'm good with it.
Okay, so, back to the overtime though. It's gonna be a lump sum stipend on their pay stub, right?
Well, it wasn't,
Hourly times their, because the fire department doesn't have an hourly rate for their employees.
they don't have an hourly rate. They don't need an hourly rate. They're going to get the 150 each as part-timers for every week that any one of them qualifies, which just means that they're available to go. So they're all set. So the question about whether or not they get it incrementally or all in a lump sum, it kind of doesn't matter. We already missed one payroll for it, so that kind of pushes us toward the lump sum, but I'd rather not super tax people by, more money will be taken out. It is subject to taxes, to regular federal taxes. So if we put it all in a lump sum, then they're going to get more taxes taken out. So it just seems to be kinder to break it out into several payments, but the downside of that is that the fire department is chasing after several payments. So, I guess it's really up to the preference of the departments because it kind of doesn't matter.
Okay, so this also has an end date, correct?
It is for a specific period of time. Yes, 8 days. And it's a specific time period.
Okay, so when we were talking about the hazard pay for the police, and so in this situation, they would get, if they had hazard pay for the police during this period of time, they would get double for the particular instant that is happening.
Right.
Okay, so gentlemen, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. We should talk about it now.
Yeah. So as I recall, the hazard pay we approved through June 30th, right? That's pretty sure that's what we talked about. So we can just let that expire, or it's another month, or we can say we're replacing that with a stipend that's an even 300. We could definitely.
Is it 300 a week or 300 a month?
It's 300 a week
It's 300 a week.
for full timers or for anybody working over 30 hours.
Okay. So they're getting $1,200 a month for the full timers.
Yes.
Are you done, Miles?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Paul, your thoughts?
I don't. The thing I'm still contemplating is they get that $300 a week no matter what. What we're contemplating right now is if one of Bob's offices goes out and gets in the line of duty and possibly has a run-in with a COVID patient, then they're getting also has pay on top of that, right? That's what we're contemplating right now.
Right. Whether or not you want both of them to happen at the same time.
Can I throw something in here, folks?
Yes.
Yep.
All the firefighters and 6 from the police department are getting the stipend, regardless if you're involved in a COVID issue or if you have to go hands-on with someone. So it's just the vote, everybody gets that, okay? The purpose of the additional hazard pay is someone actually has to go hands-on with somebody and they have to struggle with them and or it's a known COVID case. So the individuals involved from the police department that actually go hands-on will be getting a little bit more than the rest of us who may not be going hands-on with somebody or going to a COVID case. So the intent is exactly the same prior to the stipend. If we went hands-on or we went to a non-COVID case, the officer would get a couple extra dollars.
I don't have a problem myself letting that go to June 30th.
And just to let you know, both the stipend is only good until June 30th. It's for 8 weeks. It started May 4th and it ends June 30th, the same time as our hazardous pay ends. So they both end in the same day.
Okay. So,
Bob, we've only used the hazard pay one time, or I think we've only used it one time, right, for 2 officers, and
2 officers
That is
for
the
the
last. Okay,
2.5 hours. Yep.
And
So it's
again,
not
I don't,
like it-
I don't see it happening every week, but you never know.
hmm
It is infrequent, so.
so yeah, I'm okay with letting the clock run out on that, and then reevaluating as we get closer to that.
I am too.
Okay, so we don't really have to address them, the hazard pay for 2 hours, again, because it's already been approved.
Right.
So what we do have to address is the first responder stipend for police and fire to be able to receive the state stipend.
So I'll move that we accept the. Is it CARES Act money, Caroline?
No, different.
No,
Okay.
it's just the state reimbursed, first responder stipend.
All right.
Yeah, just call it, yeah.
I'll move that we accept the state reimbursed first responder stipend.
And I'll
All
second
right.
that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Fire, do you have any comments on that? All set with it? Never mind. All right, so we'll call the vote then. All right, so we'll call the vote if they don't have an. All right, so roll call vote. Paul,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Denise, yes. Okay, so the first responder stipend has been passed. Okay. Anything else, Bob, for you?
Yeah, I'll just give you as far as the stipend is concerned, the initial paperwork has been submitted to Department of Homeland Security. The town of Rawlins is set to receive $36,042.86. Of that, $13,671.41 will be allocated to the police, and the fire will get $22,371.45. To make you aware of that. I have sent a copy of the form to Caroline.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions on that?
No, so
Okay.
the only thing is different is that we will be paying the payroll tax. That isn't included in that. Caroline, is that what you said?
That is correct.
Okay.
Tax, we can submit through CARES Act funds for reimbursement.
Okay.
My next item, under the municipal relief fund, or the CARES Act, the town of Rollins, and this is based upon the population, the town of Rollins can receive up to almost $61,000.
Mhm.
Of that, we have to request, payroll. And right now, it looks like you have one teleconference bill from Equitel that might go under the municipal relief funding as well. And I've got a call into Homeland Security when the one officer was out for 4 days because he was exposed to or was with a COVID tested positive person. And we had a part-time officer fill in for him. Right now, FEMA is saying that they only reimburse us under the FEMA reimbursements for overtime, not for part-time costs. So there's a possibility that those 4 shifts may have to come out of the municipal funding program as opposed to FEMA. But Homeland Security is supposed to let me know in a day or two whether we can apply that to the FEMA request. The FEMA paperwork is concerned, I've submitted the usual paperwork for FEMA, and we're due to, so far, we've got $3,568.27 in expenditures that's eligible under the FEMA reimbursement. Any questions there?
Bob, could you just give me, send me an email with the amounts and, could you just list those amounts and the teleconference bill, payroll taxes, and the 4 days of part-time coverage that you think are going to fall under the CARES Act?
I will do that.
Thank you.
All right.
And the last item on my list is, I've started the paper for the EMPG grant for the generator. I spoke with Homeland Security today and asked if what's going on with COVID, if they're still giving money out for the EMPG equipment and whatnot, and they are. So I've started the paperwork for that. So as that progresses, I'll let the board know where that's.
Okay. Does that have to be approved by the select board before it gets submitted?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
And before we make the purchase of any equipment, it has to be approved by Homeland Security as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Anything for you, gentlemen?
Me.
No, I'm good.
Paul? You're blocked.
Sorry, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so Bob is all done. Fire. Where'd they go?
Hello.
Hello. There you go.
Hello.
There. All right. Okay, guys, we're talking heat at the fire station. Mark? Sean?
Didn't hear it.
We're talking about the heat in the fire station?
You want to start? Oh, let's start with that one.
Okey doke.
So as everybody's aware, we've installed the propane tanks. We fixed the propane gas lines. So the two outstanding issues that we need to decide is what we're going to do with the actual furnace. And then tank removal of the tank that's been in the ground for a long time and is recommended that it be removed.
But does that have to be removed right away, though?
So there's nothing that says that it has to be removed immediately. But the longer we leave it in the ground, the more risk we take that it starts leaking. The cost of the tank removal is actually small in comparison.
Not when you're looking at the whole picture of everything else, that's all. I mean, we're not putting any more in and we're not using it at all, right? So,
Right. I mean, we could at least have them come draw it down.
who is Gagne's doing that as well?
So the company that's recommended is called Cab Services. And the cost that they would charge us is $1,675. And then if we want a New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services closure report, it's an additional $775. The advantage of that is it protects the town legally, saying that once the tank was removed, ground soil was sampled, and that there was no contamination found. So if a year from now, somebody comes back and says, you know, I have oil in my well, it must have been that old fire department tank. We have a actual certified closure report that says, no, when they removed the tank, there was no leaking. You know, it's not the fire department's tank that caused your issue. That is completely an optional service. You know, we spend $1,675 and the tank's removed, backfilled the hole, and, you know, all good.
And what if the unmentionable thing happens? Then what is it going to be? Is the question.
So that's the big advantage of using company. He deals with all of these, and basically New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services actually has a fund. It's the same fund that they're using in Somersworth to do that cleanup. And, you know, if he was to get into the ground and it was saturated with oil, he calls them and it becomes that fund is used to do the cleanup.
And
Every
no
gallon
cost
of
to the
gas.
town?
Sorry, what'd you say?
No cost to the town?
Every gallon of gas that you buy and oil and everything has a fee built into it that goes into this fund.
Oh,
So
Okay.
what portion does that fund cover of those two things? The 775?
So it won't take the 1675 or the 775. It would only go into effect if there was an actual found, a cleanup had to occur.
okay, so you're saying the total then would be 1,675 plus the 775 only to have the tank removed?
That's the tank removal cost, yes.
Good, yeah, okay, okay.
Are they seeing that?
Miles?
I'm not sharing it, but I do have a presentation that I can show you if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, I'm searching my email for the list of the options that we had.
Miles,
Honest-
if you go into the drive and search
Yep.
fire, it should come up pretty quickly, the folder of materials, including Sean's PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Which I couldn't run today, because I went in there. I pulled the quotes,
here we go.
but could not run where, I must have been my work that was,
He's
Or we could
sharing.
just ask Sean, thank you.
He's sharing.
Both DF Richard and Gagnon recommend cab services. Townsend was 2,800 just for this top service. And that didn't include the soil sampling, the closure report, or any of that as well. So obviously a significant savings with using cab services. And like I said, just the knowledge and information that this gentleman had from cab services definitely gave me more confidence in his ability to do the work.
Yep. So we're talking about one of the pieces that, there's a big, larger discussion, right? So whether we replace that tank with freestanding tank that's inside or outside. Honestly, when I looked through the options and thought about it, as much as I don't like the most expensive one, the most expensive one makes the most sense to me. Getting rid of the oil altogether, replacing that with the same kind of heater that's in the newer bay, and then a furnace to heat the living areas, so to speak. The advantage to that is, I think, so that takes the pieces that we know might fail off the table. It gives us an oil burner that we could potentially use at the town hall, because there's nothing wrong with that burner per se, and it's not that old. So those are my thoughts. And like I said, when I heard the price of the most expensive option, I cringed, but I do think over time it makes the most sense. It's probably the most efficient.
is this the wall hung boiler for the almost 25,000? Is that the one you're referring to?
So that's that's retrofitting the existing burner or the existing boiler with propane. So if you look at the costs to retrofit the existing is 22 to 24. To do the oil tank replacements, 25 to 26, and then to do the complete new systems, probably 30 to 32. The problem with option 1 and 2 is that the chimneys also failed.
Right.
The burner is much larger than what we need, and we have an additional 4 units in the actual bay of the station that need to be replaced. So those all add significant costs to, staying with option 1 or 2.
So all in, including the tank removal, is between 30 and 32.
Those are just the furnace numbers.
Okay.
So you're probably looking at, 32 to 34, 26 to 28, and 24 to 26.
I'm sorry, Sean, you're so confusing me. I'm sorry. What are the three different categories that you're referring to when you give me those numbers?
So option one would be just replace it with an oil tank, build a shelter outside, line the chimney,
And keep the old furnace?
continuing the furnace as an oil burning furnace.
Okay.
And, replace the heaters that are failing, that are, as old as or 27 years old or something like that.
Are you talking about the ones that are hanging from the ceiling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Those
that's
are the ones
option
that-
one.
Yeah, and those have started to leak, is why we need to replace them.
Right.
They don't
Okay.
make them anymore. They'd have to be replaced with something new.
And how much did those cost each? Thought we had a number for that.
Well, there's burner cost. What is that 3,969 burner cost? Oops, you took it away.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I
Okay.
just want to make sure. So it's over 10 grand. Did I say 10 grand plus is because the two that are in between the bay doors were specially built. So they don't make those. So we're going to have to find a different solution or have something custom built, which is going to be very expensive.
Hmm. So we avoid 10 grand plus the chimney lining, which is not that expensive in the scheme of things here. Avoid the cost of the tank installations.
Yes.
I thought we made the decision to go with propane. That's why we
We
put
did.
that great big tank in there, right?
Well, we went with propane because there's propane there. So but yeah, I mean that makes sense to me, Denise. That
We were going
we have a whole building run on propane. But there's still flavors of options in there. Retrofitting the existing boiler to use propane, then you've got to fix the chimney.
Right. So this
And
is
there's
option two that you're
$10,000.
talking about now.
Right.
Okay, so that would be retrofit the existing oil burning furnace with a new propane burner in it. Because we're still using that large furnace, we'd need to line the chimney. We'd still have to replace all of those heating units. And then the last line here, we've already done the gas line rework. So that has already been done. So option 2 and 3, we don't have to worry about that.
Okay. So forgive me for my
Okay. And then,
question again, but what was wrong with the current furnace except for the knowing that there possibly was a leak in the tank that was feeding it? What else was wrong with that?
well, so the latest is that they're saying it wasn't the leak, there isn't a leak in the tank, that it's just not working properly. So we still, even after they came and fixed it and tuned it up, there were an additional 4 times that we came in and had no heat, and we had to reset the furnace.
Go ahead.
Part of the thinking is that the chimney, there's what's called a flue dampener. And if you've ever been in the station, you'll hear it flapping in the breeze all the time. That's not to be able to do that. So there's concerns that was never set up properly and that it's creating a downdraft and blowing out the flame inside the burner. But, Townsend has never given us a 100% answer on why we keep coming in and having no heat. They've
Okay.
pointed to 5 different things, but never truly fixed it.
And has Gagne's looked at this furnace and given you an opinion?
So Gagne has looked at the furnace and they say it's way oversized for our building,
Okay,
and that, you know, it's a good furnace as far as the quality of the brand and all of that, but oversized and, you know, they pointed out the damp and all of the chimney issues and all of the other issues with it.
okay. Miles, you had a really good idea about bringing it to the town hall. What do we use at the town hall? Don't we use, what do we use?
Oil.
for fuel? Oil?
It's oil, right, Caroline?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that sounds,
I mean, we were gonna pony up 30 grand for, or 25, whatever it was, for
25, yeah.
a furnace there.
It might make
You know,
sense if you want to look at that, to have Gagne look at it and look at what's in the town hall and comment if appropriate.
Yeah, yeah, we
I
don't want
agree.
to recreate that problem.
Right, I agree. But that's a good thought, Miles. That's a really good thought. So we should definitely look into that. So what we need to do is decide what we're going to do at the fire station. And it would be my opinion that you stick with propane. And so it was 35 something for the whole thing with propane furnace, a new furnace, hook
Yeah,
up.
you're looking at another 30 beyond what you've already paid for the propane reworking.
You mean the piping and stuff like that? That's all been
Yes.
taken care of.
Yep.
So it's the new furnace. Is it any other furnaces in your station? The ones
So
that hang from the ceiling?
So that would do 2 things. That would put a new wall-hung furnace in the actual utility room. And then that would put 2 Resnor units like we have in the new edition that would keep us in the station. So you'd have a high efficiency boiler on, you know, heating the living space, I'll call it office space, and then 2 burners heating the apparatus floor, which is going to give us the most efficiency.
Okay. Okay, Paul, do you have any comments on that? Unblock yourself. You muted.
Can I just see the third option on the screen, please? Thanks. No, I do know that we did discuss 2 meetings about going all propane, so that's what I thought we were doing. So option 1's already out. I don't know, I'm leaning towards option 3, like with Miles, same way, but
It's a lot of money.
yeah. Right.
We avoid some costs though that are going to come at us. Those heating units that are in the main bays. I don't know if you looked at them, but they're something out of a museum.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least in the old bay, right? The new
Right.
one, there's a new one in the new bay, right? John?
Yes, there's a new Resnor, so it would, you know, move us to consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So of these 3 quotes, Townsend is the cheapest for this work?
It's, so their recommendation is to put another hot water boiler in it. So that 24, you still need to add another 10.
Okay.
So then
So,
they're higher.
yeah, it doesn't even make sense.
Okay.
And that's
So
what
when
this
you,
says here.
between DF Richard and Gagne's, I mean, Gagne's is a little more.
And the difference here, and I did note this here, Ganya's price included the piping that we've already paid for. DF Richards did not.
Okay, so
So,
they're
so they're within pennies of the two.
Okay, so the 33 contained the piping
Yeah.
that we've already paid. Okay. All right.
And I did try to line that all out for you guys and make notes, but
Okay. Okay. What's the lead time? Do you know?
8 weeks.
be winter again.
They're pretty close. All right. What do you guys think?
And I will check with them again and see that, that was at the end of the heating season. So, it may be better now that things have calmed down and we're out of heating
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we get something installed and completely up and running before
Winter.
late fall, early winter for sure. So I don't want to put it off too much longer. If you guys aren't prepared to make a decision, we just want to make sure that we don't put it off too long. That's all.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like the direction of the board is for the complete replacement. I can have a, full actionable quote ready for you guys for your next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Date of when it in.
I think that would be,
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think that would be great if you can. Are we looking at a particular provider, Miles and Paul?
I mean, it makes sense that Gagnon is our, fuel provider. It seems like they're gonna probably treat us the best.
Yeah.
it probably is something where they're tied together, that you're gonna have to go with the fuel provider, because otherwise you're gonna change fuel providers because they're only going to service and fuel their own systems.
I know on their residential side, you have to have their equipment in order for, they have to service your equipment as well as being your fuel provider. I don't know how they do it with businesses, but
Okay.
we use them here personally, and they're great to work with, and always there when you call if you need them.
Like I said, what I saw with prices and quotes, they were
Yeah.
very, very comparable.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at apples to apples, so to me, it would make sense to use our provider.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that the job that they did installing the gas lines and everything was top notch, setting all of the tanks, all of that. So I would see no reason not to.
Yeah, because their pricing was, for their fuel was the best, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to give Sean the direction to go get a quote on the one that they're proposing under for the 33,122, right?
Yeah, I would-
That would be everything, and it's probably gonna be less just because you're saying we already paid for the pipe. Because that included the piping, right? Sean?
Last question I have is, yes, it will be less. As far as cab services, do we want to contract directly with cab services, or do we want to go through Gagnon for them, or for that as well? They had no preference. I figured just do it direct, and that way we can do it on the town's time frame.
You mean to remove the tank?
Yes.
What do you guys think about that?
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. I think, yeah, going directly with them, and then, yeah, we can sort of.
Should we also look at if this comes out with it?
take it all care of at once.
That's a good question. I don't know if you guys heard that. The chief just asked, do you want me to have them survey the town hall and see if the existing furnace in the fire department will work?
Well, I think that would be a great idea if we can have them look at it and go down to the town hall and see if it would meet our needs. I will save us the money on that, buying that furnace ourselves. If it will do the job that it needs to do, but I just don't want to get caught if there's something major, you know, with that furnace that nobody's really told us. And then going from bad to bad, you know, but shouldn't it? I mean, the furnace is 3 years old?
No, it's 10 years old.
It's 10 years old. Mike put that in, right? I think when he was.
Yes, under Spinney's time, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so, God, it's been that long? Holy moly. I know, time flies. So yeah, why don't you, see how much it would cost for them to come and do that, if there's a cost to it. Maybe it's not, knowing that they're gonna get the business, to see if it's an ideal fit for the, for town hall.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise, there's got to be some sort of residual value for. I mean, maybe it's not thousands of dollars or.
Yeah, so I did ask them, they wouldn't take it in trade or anything, but they said that, you know, the town, just like they do with cars or anything, could put it up on, you know, out for bid, and, you know,
Yep.
somebody would probably grab it for a, you know, garage or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, let's have them do the quote, and let's also have them do a quote for the removal of the oil tank, and then also, have them look at it and go down town hall and find out.
So I have the quote for the oil tank removal,
Okay,
already from Cab Services, so I can, you know, as long as you don't want it lumped in so that you pay one bill instead of two.
but I thought we said we were gonna go with Gagne's for the removal, not cab.
No, so Gagnon recommended Cab Services.
Oh, they're not gonna do it, they're recommending cab.
Right. It's just whether we want to cut the check through Gagnon versus Cab Services. At the end of the day,
then
it's
that's-
going to be Cab Services that does the work.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood, sorry. Caroline, what do you think?
I think going directly, well, I guess it's, as far as writing two checks, it's not really any more work to write two checks than one. I would just wonder how much extra work is it to coordinate somebody else.
Right.
So it might be quick and easy to make one phone call instead of two. So I would leave it up to you two for what's easy for you to implement, because I can write two checks or one, and that's fine either way.
Yeah, I personally would assume correct, and we keep the timing of it versus relying on somebody else to act as a go-between for us.
Right.
Okay.
That's reasonable.
Yep, that sounds good. Okay, so you know what your,
I have my marching orders, and I will have
okay,
actionable information for you next time.
okay,
Thanks,
all right,
Ron.
that sounds good.
So to be clear, there were no decisions. You just gave them direction, right?
Get a complete quote of installing and
And draining and removing. Okay, very
Yep.
good. Thank you.
no action yet, just getting in an updated quote.
Okay.
All right, anything else from fire?
I
Have a
had a
purchase
PO
order.
that I wanted to get, did that get in there, Caroline?
Yes.
Hold on, let me see. Whoops.
That's the one right there
Yeah, WD Perkins,
from Perkins. One thing we've kind of started, and I know we got to get another 10 years out of engine one. Engine one's 19 years old, and it's never really had a pump service, which is, you know, different than the truck itself. So I initiated that. We were having some issues with some leaks and some other problems with it. So I contracted with this company to come up and do all the work that needed to get done, and it also needed to have some work done on the tank truck. So they came in and did all that stuff. I actually have some of the pieces here that they took off that were close to imminent failure, and the pump would have been failed to be serviced. So they took care of all of that stuff that we needed done. So engine one in the tank are 100% all taken care of. But the other caveat to this is every year we have to do annual pump testing on the pumps. This company does those on the NFPA standard, which is what we should be up to. The gentleman we had doing it before was a retired bat chief from Bath, Maine or something, and he would come down and do them. But he did it under his own form and didn't always meet all the actual NFPA requirements. So when we get to the fall, we've always kind of set up with Somersworth and ourselves to take one day to complete the annual pump testing. We also may be able to incorporate Rochester in this, which would, between the three communities doing it all in one day, we'd be able to reduce our cost as far as our annual certification for that. So that's one reason why there's the PO 1812, it's the Perkins pump. This would come out of our equipment maintenance, vehicle repair maintenance line. We haven't really tapped anything into that. We haven't had any problems or any breakdowns yet, so we're almost halfway through the year. It's a $7,000 line, so we're only going to take a third. So Sean actually just brought in one of the pieces that we replaced. And I'm sorry you can't see the inside, but actually see that little hole in the side of that? Can you see that?
Yep.
That is a pit hole that just water sitting in this for 19 years and it just ate its way through the galvanized metal. And when they were doing their repairs, this failed during that. So they ran around, found all these parts and pieces and put the truck back into complete service. So I'm kind of keeping this for a memento and for some training and whatnot. But when you look inside, you can see these issues that we were having to deal with, and we're right at the point where we could have had a larger bill.
Okay. All right. So.
All right. I'll go ahead and move purchase order 1812 to WD Perkins Fire Pump Specialist for $2,321.24.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'll second that.
Okay.
And Caroline, I know in some of the mail you've been sending out, you wanted more information put down on the POs. I also
Yes, there's a column on the left.
included the repair sheets that they sent us. I don't know if these are in your paperwork end of it. Yeah, there it is right there. So that's the complete listing of everything they did, and I wanted to put that in just to follow up on your request for as much information as you could get. So it's all right
Yep,
there.
I have it in hand. I have the original, and it's right attached. Okay, so we have a first motion and a second. Any further questions from the select board?
So I just have a comment. So so the inkling that something was wrong was that it was leaking.
Yeah, it had a constant leak, and it used to always create Lake Rollinsford in front of my office every time we used the fire truck.
How long had that been going on?
Had water coming out of it, and for various reasons. Obviously, that's not good, but it could have led to an imminent failure with a more important part. So they came in and took care of all that. It's still got a little bit of leaking going on, but it's nothing compared to what it used to be.
Okay.
And then, like I said, the caveat to this is we're looking at probably just come do test, and that's going to be more to what we should be meeting the standard that we have in the past.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, Paul, do you have any questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay, are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay, so motion is to do purchase order 1812 for $2,321.24. Paul?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Denise? Yes. So I will sign the purchase order. Done. Okay.
Caroline, I have another question for you on purchase orders.
Yes.
I had submitted one, I don't know, a while ago, I don't remember the exact time frame, for the money from the warrant article for the extrication equipment,
Yes.
the $30,000 for that. I just received a statement from them folks. I don't know if that's been paid or if it's still on hold or what, but we have the equipment in our possession now. So I don't know what the status
Okay.
is, if it's been taken care of or not.
Could you get that statement to me either electronically or Dropbox?
Yep, I will get it to you.
And then we'll take
I
care of
don't,
it.
I don't remember seeing the invoice on that to be signed. Oh, I don't sign them all, right?
You wouldn't, if it had a purchase order, the department head would approve it, but then you wouldn't have to because the
Okay.
board did purchase order.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I was just looking at the status for that, whether we've already paid for it or not, but I'll get you the invoice. It's on my desk. I'll get it shipped over to you.
Thank you. It may be that we never got the invoice, or it may be that it was paid. I don't know, but I need the invoice or a statement from them to look into it.
Yep, there you got it your way.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you.
Anything else
And
from fire?
that's all that I have. You have something else? Okay, Caroline, one other thing we were looking at. The other day during a department head meeting, you were talking about some of these funds and COVID money and all these other grants that are coming in. And you were looking for people with ideas on what we may have fit underneath some of that material.
If you have a need, yes.
Yeah, we were looking at, you talked about technology, and we would like to have, if this all works out and as everything fits together, is some upgrades to some of what we don't have now. We would like to, we've started doing some looking into iPads for our engines in the command vehicle so that we could have a lot more information right at our fingertips, a lot like what PD is doing now. We can put pre-plans in there. We can run our streets. We can put fire hydrants in there. We can use it for other kind of information.
So the caveat, Mark, is that it all has to be COVID related.
It all has.
So it has to be COVID related. So it can't be just because it's a good idea. It has to be as a result of the pandemic that you are operating in a different way, which requires more technology. So if you find that these things help in that way because it allows people who are already on the road to know that they're responding to a home that may be affected, or something else that's pandemic related, it could qualify, but it has to be directly pandemic related.
Okay, yep, I understand.
But I would encourage you to make note of what you're talking about in the budget process. And if what you're talking about does not qualify for these funds, but it's yet still important, then I would encourage you to cost it out and present it to the board in the budget cycle in the fall.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely do that. Okay. That's all that I have. Is you had nothing else, Sean, right?
Do we want to talk about the masks?
Masks,
The company
okay.
in Hampton.
Yeah, Sean has found a company in Hampton that, this is COVID-related material. They make I-95 respirators, masks that have interchangeable filters. They come with 5 filters or 3 filters or something when you purchase them. So obviously everybody understands that I-95 is the best protection you can have when you're dealing with COVID. But we could also use these masks if we were at a fire and we're past the actual suppression stage, and we'd be working on mop up, clean up and whatnot. These masks can be used for that all. We're thinking of getting some of these masks for our members because they come with the, like I said, the filters. They have their own little carrying casing, whatnot. It's something that we could use for multiple uses, but it's the best grade that we could have. So we were looking at those. Sean went out, $70 a piece or something like that.
They're normally 79. We
Oh,
can
you
get
got
it
it
for
for free.
59 because we're part of the New Hampshire First Responder Network. It's a company out of Hampton. The advantage of these is, unlike the paper masks, they can be fit tested. All of the things that we have to do beyond the pandemic, we can use these masks for, plus they give us better protection in the actual COVID-19 situation. So it would give us dedicated masks per person.
So we have been directed that if something qualifies for reimbursement through FEMA, we are supposed to use FEMA funds. And only if it doesn't qualify for FEMA do we use CARES Act money or other monies. So to FEMA, PPE falls under FEMA, which is still currently a 75% reimbursement. They keep talking about 100%. They keep asking the feds to bring it up to 100. And they're still hopeful it's going to become a 100% reimbursement, but just know that that's currently 75% reimbursement. I would want to check in with Bob, who's more familiar with what the reimbursement deadlines are. And, I know he's submitting now for the first round, and I believe there is still, more money in another round for that. But I guess I would want to check with the chief about what the reimbursement schedule is for that. So I just want to caution everybody that we may still be on the hook for 25% of that cost, which is
It's gonna be $1,600.
So if it was 25%, does that then go to the CARES Act? Because that's not covered under FEMA?
I think I was doing.
no. Yes, you cannot use federal funds to supplement other federal funds.
You're not. You're supplementing something that wasn't covered.
Well, right. Well, it was covered 75%. So you can't use one federal program to supplement another federal program. You go with one or you go with the other. But if it
For one
qualifies,
state.
well, so if we're going with FEMA because it qualifies for FEMA, right now that's a 75% reimbursement. So we're on the hook for 25%, and that 25% doesn't qualify for CARES Act because that's a separate federal program, and you can't use one federal program to supplement another federal program.
Okay, I'm going to look it up, what I read. I thought it said that what FEMA didn't cover, CARES Act would.
Yes, that's true in terms of, for example, the exploding welfare costs. That doesn't fall under FEMA reimbursement. So that would be covered by CARES Act.
Oh,
But
okay.
it doesn't mean that the 75-25 is covered by CARES
Okay.
Act.
Okay, so it'll do it, but it can't, I understand now. Okay.
Hey, Chief Ducharme's up here at the firehouse if you have a question for him, but the thing again, when we were thinking on why we wanted to do this was, we were looking at getting 20 of them, and at the reduced rate, it would be about $1,200. If it was going to be 75% covered, we could easily absorb the $300 out of one of our line items within our operating budget. But our thought on the whole
It's still a
thing
good
is the
deal.
fact that because this is dual purpose, we can use it for COVID, we can use it for fires. It has extra filters. We were looking at purchasing roughly 20 of them and giving them to each of our members. So less chance of any cross-contamination or whatnot. They would take care of their own piece. It's their own equipment. It'd be with their gear in their locker, and we could solve a lot of issues of passing things around or coming up short with items. So we're looking at, like I said, somewhere between 12 for the cost, but we could absorb some of that out of my budget.
So that part's great, but if, Chief, if you could ask Bob if he's there,
He's here.
his current round of, hi there.
I'm back.
Back to the meeting. For the first round of FEMA reimbursement, we had to hit $3,000 worth of expenses in order to be reimbursable for the first round. For additional FEMA reimbursement, are we going to have to hit another $3,000 threshold?
They have not said one way or the other at this point. The minimum threshold was 3,300, and originally it was going to be for 4 months. Now they've stretched out to the end of the year.
Okay, so
So
I
I'm
would,
going to go on the assumption as long as we
that.
hit the minimum 3,300 between March and December, we're good to go.
and we've already hit that, so we're fine.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that.
Okay. Okay, anything else for fire? Or police, since he's there?
That's all I have. Is there anything else that you guys need from us? Any questions or anything?
Nope,
Nope.
I think we're good.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, George.
There's only a little bit of him left.
George. There you go.
Am I on now?
I hear you.
Yep.
I don't, there you
Yes, you
are.
are.
Okay.
Okay, I was out looking at a complaint down on Kelwin Drive. And there is a 100 by 35-foot area in our town that is completely coming apart. Somersworth does have no plans to pay for at least a couple years. This, if we prepare this, we can have this done for less, well, he said about 6,700 unless he runs into something. So I brought it up to about $7,500 to repair that section of road. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. It's maintained by Somersworth, but it's requiring continuous maintenance to fix that section. And that's the only real bad section that we have in Rollinsford on that particular road. My thoughts is to get that repaired while we can with some road money.
When you say it's maintained by Somersworth, that they normally would do the paving there?
They patch,
Oh.
coal patch, whatever,
Okay.
It's stuff that doesn't last, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I saw those pictures. They were pretty bad. That road
Mhm.
looked like it
Right.
was coming apart.
It is. It's
Um,
coming apart in that section right there. The problem is there's some drainage that has to be done on the lower section of the road, which is not in that bad a shape. It's fine right now. So I figured if we can get this section fixed, and then if we have to look at doing a complete, do drainage and everything when they decide to fix the road completely, we have to look at the road plan. We haven't done that yet. So
Yep. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and move purchase order 1825 to Belanger Paving for up to $7,500 to pave a 100 by 35-foot area on Kellen Drive.
Okay, is there a second, Paul?
I'm just trying to understand why it says 35 Jesse Doe Road.
that's
Well,
that's
That's
my
the address of the highway.
oh, never mind. I got you. That's you guys. I'm sorry, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay, so you're seconding it? Okay, so, what we're paving is strictly Rollinsford though, right, George?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it's only 100 foot a section, so it's in front of two houses.
Okay, all right.
There've been
Any
some
other-
complaints. There've been some complaints from Mrs. Brown at number 29 about the road falling apart and stuff. And I happened to go out and look at it, and it's a lot worse than I expected. They said, the more when they were running the plows over it and stuff this winter, they dug some up, and
Yeah,
it just keeps falling apart. So
yeah, the pictures were they looked pretty bad.
yeah,
So,
we're gonna prep it, and so that's gonna save us, some money, so that we can get it done.
okay. All right, any other questions, Paul or Miles?
Nope.
So that'll come out of the paving line item.
I would assume the
Out of road
paving-
maintenance.
Oh, you're taking it out of road maintenance?
No, that's all the same.
Out of the big lump sum money that's sitting there?
They're correct.
Okay, okay, that's, okay. All right, ready for your vote?
Ready?
Okay. For purchase order 1825, Miles,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Denise, yes, I will sign the PO.
And we are in need of more gravel to continue our projects. We used some when we did the culvert work and with the sidewalk work, so we're going to need another $3,000 for gravel, which we have in the road maintenance fund.
Okay,
All right. I'll move purchase order 1826 to Pike Industries for $3,000 for crushed gravel.
I'll second it.
okay. So when you say Heritage Drive, didn't you finish last year? Is that
Yeah, we haven't done the shoulders on that road yet because the
Okay.
truck, we didn't get the truck till late in the season. We finished Sligo on last year's section. We still got to do Heritage.
Okay.
And we did part of it last year because there was a complaint that was a pretty bad drop off, so we did a little bit of it. Actually, it was earlier this year, but we did it without the use of the other truck. So
Okay. Any other questions, Paul or Miles?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay.
Nope.
Hearing none. Roll call for purchase order 1826. Miles?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Denise? Yes. I will sign the PO.
no more POs, but I have a question for you. The compost pile, which nobody takes, we have to pay to get rid of normally. Paul Martell is willing to take a few loads for Phil down in his property as long as we can truck it down there for him, and that's what we're asking permission for. And we can do that on a rainy day or whatever. He got a big spot in the back that he'd like to fill in, and it was just we have to pay to get rid of it. Paul will take it for nothing, so it's just up to us.
Where is he? Where is that location?
Old Mill Lane.
No.
His
Oh,
home.
No.
oh, okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
It'll help clean up some of that stuff at the dump. I mean, people have dumped. A lot of people don't want to take it because it's got paper bags in it and stuff like that. Paul's going to use it for the landfill and, well, not landfill, but he wants to fill a big hole and he wants to put some cover over it. So that would work out good for him.
All right. Miles, do you have any problem with that?
No, I think that's fine.
No.
Win-win.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. Go ahead and do it, George.
Okay. Anything for me?
I do have two things that were, we had someone mention something at the budget meeting of a concern with the roof over the recycling bins. They're worried that the snow and ice will fall off and cause a hazard for people who are there, that will stand there. What are your thoughts?
Well, we can put some, they do make things you can put on it to stop the snow from sliding.
Well, what is your intention? Do you intend on taking the snow off after snow?
Yeah, I mean, the snow's not going to stay on it long. And we can pull the snow off with a snow rake very easily from the upper level,
Yeah.
if that's a concern.
Well, it was just, that was brought, I didn't think about it when they had said it, and so I said, I'll talk to you. So,
No, I mean, it's like any roof. It's going to probably gain some snow, but it's on a metal roof and the sun comes out, it's going to slide off. But we'll make sure that's clear before it happens.
or before it opens up to the public,
Right.
or whenever the snows are, okay.
Yep.
The other thing is, I noticed this, and I don't know if it's been this way or for a long time, and I'm just noticing it, but you call it a Kwanzaa hut, where you put your soda cans in
The storage, yeah.
hut there is a lot of dents and holes on the back.
Yes, there is.
Okay, so why, and how can we stop that?
Well, those dents have been there for quite some time.
Okay, then I just was noticing it. Is it because they're pushing those things in and they're going too close to the back?
Actually, they had a few that fell over before in previous times. So,
Okay. So,
but
I was
we're actually going to try to get up there and push that back in and put it back together properly. And we're keeping stuff away from stack. They tried to overstack it in the previous regime.
okay,
It fell over. So, I mean, we're trying to get the building straightened out, but of course, amongst the other things we're trying to do. So,
yeah, okay. I just, like I say, I just noticed it and I was
Yep.
like, oh, because it looked like there was a couple of actual holes in them.
yeah, there is. Actually, the force of the forklift went through it one time.
Okay, all right. Just noticed it, so, all right. Anything else for George, guys?
Nope, I think Sligo looks great.
Nothing.
Yeah,
All right.
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on what's going on.
Okay, thanks, George. You have a good night.
You too.
Thanks,
All right,
George.
bye.
Yep. Bye.
Okay. So our next agenda is town administration pandemic sick time for illness. That's already been taken care of, hasn't it?
No, the board wanted to, it was almost decided at the last meeting, and then the board decided to wait and revisit it again. So the question before the board is, for somebody who was sick, something that appeared to be COVID, would that hit their sick time or not hit their sick time? It's not a first responder.
Okay, so it's not a first responder and it's not something that's happened at work anyway. And it was something that happened outside of there.
Well, it can't really be proven, but it doesn't seem to be work-related. The person isn't claiming that it was work-related.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think sometimes you have to use your sick time for your sick time. I mean, and then if it went over on sick time, then maybe we would go to the COVID, but
Yeah.
why do we have sick time if we don't use it? I don't know.
It was just a question, and I think it's just because there's a lot of new decisions being made because of the pandemic, and so they just wanted to revisit this and see if that's what the protocol was. Just checking in.
What are we talking, Carolyn? Are we talking like 1 day or 2 days?
Offhand, I don't know. Maybe 3 or 4, maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can actually, I can look. Hold on a second.
We're treading a fine line with someone who was sick and determine if it was COVID or not when they were out for COVID. That's all I got.
I guess my point would be is if they're out with a precaution to be out, an uncertainty whether or not you have COVID, then it has to go on sick time. But if they get tested and proven that they do have it, change to COVID. But I don't.
Well, this was back when testing wasn't available for everybody, and that person wanted to get tested and was denied testing. It was for 7 work days.
I don't think we can go backwards. I think we just have to make decisions based on what we're going to do from today going forward. I mean, we didn't know a lot of the stuff that we know today, and things weren't available that are today. I don't know. And that's my opinion. But Miles, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that we have a generous sick time policy.
I can't hear you, Miles.
You can't at all?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, okay.
We have a generous sick time policy. Sometimes you gotta use sick time. This is one of those times. That's my opinion.
Paul, do you have?
I couldn't hear what Miles said. I didn't hear a word he said, sorry.
Okay, let's try it again.
That we have a, can you guys hear me?
You're really faded. I don't know.
Hold on, let me put my headset back on. My ears.
Okay.
Headset all day long, and I'm nearing the end of my ability here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Much better.
That we have a generous sick time policy, and sometimes you got to use your sick time. I think this is one of those times.
You know, I think I agree with that. Paul, do you have any comment?
I just think it's so muddy that we got to really I don't mean to be the one to disagree, but first of all, I don't know about if someone was sick for a day or two with COVID and then they were told not to go to work for 7 days, and obviously the 1 or 2 days they were sick, before they knew it was COVID, they probably should get the sick time with a couple days, but after that, it should all be paid for. It shouldn't come out of theirs because they were told to isolate and stay home is what I'm understanding.
Is that what happened?
No, the person was never told to stay home. The person came back to work when they were ready to come back to work, and they came back in a working from home kind of scenario. So I don't think there's loss of opportunity for work. I think the person worked as much as they could when they felt able to.
Okay. The other thing is, you know, we have a short-term disability also. And, if, you know, you have to be out 5 working days, right, to apply. Is that right?
Well, I believe you'd have to be out of sick time. And you know, as Miles said, we do have a very generous sick policy or sick time rate. So you would have to, I don't believe you can get sick time and short-term disability at the same time. So you'd have to run out of your.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, I don't think we should go backwards. It is what happened, whoever it was. But I think if we have confirmation that it is a recommendation or mandatory from the doctor's slip saying that they have to be home based on possible cause of COVID, now they're going to get tested, that's for sure. It's available. But I think we can't go backwards. That's my opinion.
Right. I mean, this might have been the flu. We can't tell.
Yeah. So do you want us to take a vote on that, Caroline?
Yes, it would be helpful for the record, please. Thank you.
I guess I gotta know what we're actually voting on then.
Yeah, me too.
So the question is, for somebody who has been sick, for somebody who is sick with COVID-related symptoms, does their time away from work count against their sick earnings?
But the flu is COVID symptoms as well. That's where we're really on a fine line here.
Right. Can I make a suggestion?
Identical symptoms.
Can I make a suggestion? And I really don't want to see this on the agenda again, but I think we need to draw up some specific language and specific scenarios instead of trying to do this on the fly. And like I said, I really don't want to talk about this again, but it seems like.
Yeah, and Caroline, didn't you look at your what is it, listserv or something about what other districts had done with this particular situation?
I did, and there were not a lot of responses, and most of the responses said that the person would have to use their time, but there was at least one community that was not letting it hit somebody's sick time. So there's not really a clear ruling on that one that way.
But nobody's dictating to us from the state level to the federal level saying that you don't have to use your sick time and that, you know, go towards, I mean, it's the choice of the town. And like I said, we have generous sick time, and I don't think that we should be using that unless it happened. And first responders are the ones that were getting this because it's getting it in the line of duty. I think that's why we had to have someone go out in quarantine because he got in contact with somebody. And that's not this case, I'm assuming. So we can work on language, but, you know, I say, you know, we can come up with something that after your sick time is gone or something of that sort, and you're having these COVID symptoms, because, I mean, we can do something like that, but
Well, if I could suggest, because Miles really does see this on the agenda again, it sounds like Denise are aligned in that you have sick leave, you use your sick leave. So I'm not really sure, but, you know, I see that Paul's still outstanding, but it sounds like there's pretty much a consensus that the two of you are pretty firm that you're using sick time. Is that correct?
It is for me.
I'm really not sure that I'm happy to write up scenarios and we can write up something more specific. It just sounds like that's where you're going.
Yeah, so I'll give you my 2 cents. My 2 cents, if a person was sick with the flu, the COVID, and they were out for a day or two because they were sick, then they get charged for the sick time because we didn't know what it was. But that same person had a note saying not to go to work, then obviously that person would not be using their sick time. That's all I.
But we don't have a note, right, from a doctor.
We do not have a note.
So, I mean, if the doctor.
And I agree with that, Paul.
Yeah.
I agree with that logic.
So it's.
But if we don't have a note from the doctor and they take a week or 10 days off, I mean, I think, I don't know. I think they should, my opinion is I think they should use their sick time. But
Okay.
Okay, so Miles, are you feeling that way as well, or did you want me to go right up the scenarios?
So I guess where I was going with the scenarios is exactly what Paul just mentioned. Somebody gets told you shouldn't go to work anymore because you've been diagnosed, and we can confirm that in writing. Then yeah, you shouldn't have to use your sick time, I guess. Yeah.
for COVID only.
For COVID only, yeah.
Okay, but in this scenario, we got no doctor release saying that can be out of work, and we did not get a COVID.
Right.
We did not get a COVID confirmation that that's what person had because they didn't get a test.
Well, right, which isn't their fault, but they also were never told to stay home. They were able to work as soon as they were able to come, you know, as soon as they felt able to work, they were able to work. So we were never telling them, don't work because you might be contagious.
Because they didn't confirm that they were contagious because they didn't give a test.
Well, that's true too, but you know, there was.
The thing is that, you know, it has
You're going to
the
be
same,
out for another week.
yeah, it has the same symptoms as the flu, and back then they should have been testing way more people because then we probably wouldn't have had as much contamination that we do. But I mean, I think I just think that they should use their sick time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think we need scenarios then, because I mean, there's certain scenarios that could happen that I don't think we're covering correctly right now.
Okay, so
I'm personal to what the situation is, so I'm not sure what you're getting at. I mean, Caroline mentioned something like 7 days. Are you saying you're going to charge the person 7 days sick?
the person used 7 days of sick time.
Huh. Okay, you must be talking about another person I'm not familiar with now. Okay. I'm not sure. I mean, if the person used 7 days of sick time and the doctor never said, you know, if this person was, they believed they had COVID, so they were told not to come in, and they used the first 2 days because they were sick, but then after that they were in touch with the medical doctor and they said don't go in, then obviously those 7 days would be 2 days used as sick and 5 days not used because they're following doctor's orders.
Well, that might be, you know, we might be getting into a scenario where we're confusing how much communication was there. And so, you know, there was no note provided, you know, so all I can say from my standpoint is that there was no correspondence to me that indicated that the person felt fine but was told not to come in.
All right, I'm confused. We'll have to do scenarios. I can't vote on this right now tonight because I'm not sure the exact thing we're voting on. Sorry. You either pay people who had COVID and they were sick, or you don't. So I'm confused now. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just don't understand Caroline's scenario or what she's telling me, I guess. So
Okay, so just my final words on this. If you got diagnosed that you had COVID, you would be able to have a slip from your doctor saying that that's what you had. And if that's the case, and they can still supply it based on what happened previous, have a doctor send a slip in, confirm it was that, then we can give it to them. But if they can't confirm it or they don't know.
So here's where I'm confused here. If you're home and you're sick and you're doing the right thing and you get a hold of your doctor's office and the doctor's office says, well, we don't have enough tests right now to give you because they're for the caregivers only. They say, we believe you have COVID, so self-regulate and do not go to work for X amount of days. And now you're going to penalize that person by charging them 5 to 7 days pay. Is that what you're telling me? Sick time?
I don't think it's penalized. It's what we give you sick days for.
So what you're saying is that person should have came in 2 days later, even and possibly exposed the staff?
No, I'm saying that they should have got a doctor's slip sent to them when that doctor said you should be out.
Okay.
We wouldn't do it for anybody else if it was.
No, I know. I'll follow up. I mean, whatever. I'm just, if there was a note from the doctor saying they shouldn't be working,
then that's what we would go with based on COVID symptoms. If
so
that's that in writing, then it wouldn't be a question.
I'm confused. What I'm confused about is person's sick. They possibly had COVID. They got a hold of their medical staff. They got a hold of their medical, and they said, stay, don't go to work. I believe Caroline is pretty well engaged with the person about that person talking to the medical people. So I'm not sure.
I don't think any job wouldn't require a note from the doctor that you can go back to work or that you have to be out based on a certain symptom because it's, because they fear it's contagious. A doctor will supply that information with you. They should get that information that they were required to be out on doctor's orders. If that's the case, and if it was COVID, then it would have been covered. But nobody's saying it is 100% because the symptoms are the same because it was flu season as well. The symptoms are pretty much the same. And I don't think the person who's this is for was sick. I'm not doubting that at all. I'm just saying the doctor should have given her a slip to be out and to go back to work.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I thought, well, I'm not going to get into that part of it, but was the person working from home, Caroline?
The person was working from home, but also the person didn't indicate that they were fine, but here's my note from the doctor that says I still need to be out for 4 more days or anything like that. There was no note from the doctor saying they should continue to be out, but they immediately transitioned into working from home. So to my mind, as far as I interpret the scenario, the person was able to return to work as they felt able to.
No,
there was no doctor's note saying that you should continue to be out.
When that person worked from home with pay.
Right, that was paid regular employment, yes.
It was regular employment pay. So they got paid for the work that they were doing, and they got paid sick leave for when they couldn't work.
That is my understanding of the situation.
Okay.
All right. I mean, that sounds fine. I'm a little confused where you come up with the 7 to 8 days, but
that's what was on the time sheet for what the person put in for.
All right. So what are we voting on right now? I need to know what I'm actually voting for because
I understand. So if a person is confirmed that they have COVID, then it would be covered under the town.
Yep.
Don't go get a test and they don't get a confirmation, then it goes towards their sick time. Maya, what do you think?
I think that makes sense. It's kind of why I mentioned, I think we need these scenarios laid out in black and white.
Okay, then
All right.
we'll do that.
We'll do that
Okay.
then.
All right, let's put it on the next one, and Caroline, you will work on that? Okay.
Yes, I will.
Sorry.
No, that's
No,
okay.
Okay,
You can just deal with it one more time, that's it, you know?
All right.
whatever it takes, we can do it. All right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to the CARES Act funds.
So we talked about that a lot tonight, but a little bit more about that is just a reminder that the funds exist. They exist for a variety of purposes. They cover whatever we cannot submit to FEMA, but we have to try for FEMA reimbursement first. But so there are different frames and different deadlines to submit for reimbursement for the different time frames. But it's important to note that funds that you can only use this money up until the end of August. So while election materials, election expenses would be covered, anything that you might want to do the day of the election, for example, hazard pay, as was proposed by the town clerk, that couldn't come out of these funds. So I just have it there as a placeholder to talk about as I collect proposals from town departments about how they would like for you to consider the use of these funds. The select board is going to control how we're using these funds, because we don't want to be in a position where all in one way and then we don't have any funds available for some other obvious need. The library is submitting a request to the board for a program that they're going to offer, which will qualify. That's $1,000. It's a way to replace the fact that they are closed. It allows for movies and whatnot. I'll let you read that when it comes in. Otherwise, you know, what concerns me is that there's no reason to believe that the stay on evictions is going to be lifted anytime soon. So we don't know what's going to happen for future funding opportunities, but I can't imagine they're going to lift the emergency order around evictions anytime soon. And welfare has not been what I would expect it to be under these circumstances, because clearly people are kind of hiding under this emergency order. So there's really nothing else to report at this time, but I'm just keeping it there as a placeholder. Starting at the next meeting, I will have a spreadsheet to share with you all so that you can see how we could potentially spend the money with specific proposals. Technology is one of the things that I really want for the board to consider. Only just before this meeting did I share with you the building permit software that I would like for the board to consider. The final report that Suzanne Heward put together with all of the research that she donated with her time in helping us determine what software program made most sense. So we can talk about that if there's a will to talk about it. It would be good if the board felt ready to discuss that again and make a decision. The longer we sit on these proposals, pricing does have potential to change. Is basically what it, I'm going to see if I can make this a little bigger. This is the cost of the building permit software for the software program that I would suggest we go through. And we discussed this briefly. It would cost.
You're not sharing, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So, I never pressed the last thing there. Can't, sorry. It won't let me share the screen. Okay. So it tells me I am sharing the screen, but you really can't see what.
I can't. I don't know if anyone
I
else
can't,
can.
no, I can't see it either.
All right, okay, so we're gonna have to abandon that. There's an error for whatever reason. So if that negates the proposal, it's in your email. It would cost $99 a month. So about $1,200 a year for the program, and then it's going to cost $5 per permit, which is a fee to eCity. eCity is the company that provides this program called ePermit Plus. So a consumer would pay $5 per permit, and then they would pay 2.78% for the credit card convenience fee, and then they would pay $1.50 for a transaction fee to E2B Gov, which essentially is interware. So there are costs involved to the consumer. The consumer is sometimes property owners, and it's usually vendors. It's usually contractors. Of course, whatever the contractor pays ultimately gets shifted to the person who's paying them. So ultimately, it is going to be a cost borne to the residents. But what it allows, though, is for the person who's submitting the permit to know what its status is. They submit
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The 2.78% is of the cost of the permit fee?
No. So I'm sorry, it's 2.78% of the cost of the permit. So these are all fees on top of your permit fee. So if you're building a $200,000 from scratch, then you're going to have like a $3,000 permit fee, which is then subject to 2.78% plus $5 plus $1.50.
Okay. And there's no way to not pay that. You can't do it on paper anymore.
All right. So what this allows for is it's workflow software. So anybody who works in the office can see what the status of a permit is, but also the contractor can see what the status of not only what the status of the permit is, but they can actually see what the outstanding questions are. So the building inspector can converse with an applicant through the software. You're still missing your floor plan. And so that they go in and check that and they know, oh yeah, I forgot to submit the floor plan. So it's not just about how do we pay for permits electronically. It certainly offers convenience, though people can also choose to avoid those fees. And I don't know if they can avoid the $5, but they can avoid the credit card fee and the $1.50 by paying the person. I believe they can avoid the $5 also.
Gotcha.
It allows for workflow. It allows for reporting about how many permits we did so far this year or this month, and how many for decks and how many for this or that. So it provides data.
I see the email you sent. I haven't had a chance to read it.
That's okay. I wouldn't expect that you would, because it was a 9th hour. It was an 11th hour send there. So I just draw your attention to it because I find it to be very COVID related, because it allows the building inspector to work more efficiently at home, and it allows him to converse better with the applicants, and it also allows for better money flow with the credit card, which keeps everybody safer right now. So it's just something that I would like to consider. Been back and forth. Go ahead, Miles.
So in regard to the technology stuff, I think because we've kind of talked about a bunch of different stuff, online registrations and this and some other stuff. I think if we can just see like a list of the things and the costs,
I can do that.
all laid
I'll
out.
add
I
it
think
to the spreadsheet. Sure, I'll add it to the spreadsheet with the e-permitting. I am, I had kind of paused and thought about the vehicle registration software. There's a little bit of disagreement in the office about whether it's the best solution, and I think that's because there's a little bit of fear around change, frankly, from some. But there's a demand from the public that the public wants to use the option of using credit cards. So it seems like if there's ever going to be the opportunity to implement something that keeps people safer by paying, with credit cards and coming in, that this would be that time to help do that.
gotcha.
So I'll write it all out. But that's just one piece of the CARES Act funding. So I was going to keep that on the agenda until there's more information about proposals.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other questions on the CARES Act?
No.
Miles?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, first aid kits?
Okay, there's a proposal for that. This one, I apologize, it's in your email, and I'm apparently not able to share my screen, or I would show it to you, is a deal that expires at the end of May. So if you feel comfortable with going for it, it would be great for that to happen tonight. The part that's particularly exciting about it is that the first aid kit costs about what a first aid kit costs, but through this deal, we would not be paid the monthly fee to have somebody come around and check on the level of supplies, but that person will come around and see what you need and keep the kit stocked and up to date. And we would only pay for the additional supplies that were needed. So in one sense, it's a one-time fee, but in the same sense, it's a long-term service contract to go around and keep the first aid kits stocked, and that is free except for whatever the supplies are that we need. So this is through a company called Cintas, which is they supply uniforms and various kinds of services like that. All the departments have first aid kits that are out of date. So all of the departments would like one of these for their building, with the exception of library. What I would propose to the board is that authorize for these to sign the contract. I don't think it rises to the level of a purchase order, since they're $250 each. And would like to offset that cost. It would go to the building maintenance account for each of the departments. But I'd like to offset that with the $500 that is in the safety line. Because this is a recommendation of the Joint Loss Committee, and they don't anticipate any other expenses this year. So it would decrease their, the cost to the building maintenance funds.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So we just need a motion to authorize Denise to sign. Is that what I heard?
If you want to do that, that would be great. Yes.
I don't have a PO here though, right?
No, you don't. It's only the contract that is in the email that I sent you. So if the board approves the idea, then you can print that and scan it back. You would. Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion then that we allow Denise to sign the Cintas Cintas contract for first aid kits.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say, oh, I'm sorry. Paul?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Denise, yes. Okay. Okay, it passed. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Conservation Commission appointments, Stephen Bartlett and Wendy Chase.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Stephen Bartlett and Wendy Chase to the Conservation Commission.
I'll second that.
All right. So I'll call the vote. Miles,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Denise, yes. Okay, it's been appointed. Okay, Eversource request.
That's the whole license agreement that's in the board's folder. This is an annual request that we fill out this form and sign it and send it in. Every year, the American Legion likes to put flags on the telephone poles that line Main Street, and we need permission from Eversource flags on the poles and to keep flag holders there. So this is that form.
Okay, I have it in my hand, but nothing is filled out, and it requires pole numbers and street locations to be filled out. Then, okay, so then in the center, I guess it's our signature, and then underneath it's Public Services signature, correct?
Yes. We're just all agreeing that it was allowed. Yes.
Now, the event would be Memorial Day, or is it a,
I believe he puts Memorial Day through Independence Day, and he keeps them up from Memorial Day through Independence Day, if I remember correctly.
okay, and he is whom?
I'm sorry, the police chief, I have him fill this out, complete the time frame.
Okay, so he's going to fill it out and then I'm going to sign it? If this is authorized by the board, or do I sign it and then he'll fill it out?
However you feel comfortable doing it, I can have him fill it out and then send it to you if you wish. We have paperwork, workflow issues here with, I don't have, actually I do have that electronically and I think it's in your email.
So do we need a vote here?
If you would vote to approve it so that at the appropriate time Denise can sign
Okay.
it.
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we allow Denise to sign the Eversource agreement for putting flags on telephone poles.
I'll second that.
All right. Roll call vote. Miles,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Denise, yes. So I'll get in touch with Bob and I'll fill out my side and then I'll meet with him and give it to him to fill it out and give it back to you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right. Yep. All right. Call operations.
Oh, okay, so there were two things for Eversource and we missed one of them. So there's another letter in the board
Yes.
folder.
Got it.
And this is a letter that Avatar is requesting that the board send to Eversource, asking Eversource to provide all of its assessing information to Avatar so that they can reassess it, because the legislature passed a new law about how we are supposed to assess utility assets. So this is relative to that. I
So the
emailed
letter-
it to you earlier in the week.
Yeah, and the letter is signed by myself, asking this Eversource to do this and send it to Avatar.
All right. So I'll make a motion that we authorize Denise to sign the letter from Avatar to Eversource.
Right. All right.
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call vote. Paul,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
and Denise. Yes. So I'm signing it. Okay. All right. Town hall operations.
There's quite a lot going on, and so just briefly, since the board last met, there's been a planning board meeting, and the library trustees have started meeting. We've had a stormwater meeting. The budget committee's met. The department heads are continuing to meet with me every other week. Had that election planning meeting. So it's just been busy, but everything's going well. Pretty much all of the boards and committees are back to a regular meeting schedule, more or less. Water Committee will be approving the scope of the asset management grant soon, and so that will be before the board for your approval pretty soon. Other than that, town hall operations are going along as they have with the Dropbox, and people are still some at home and some in the office and some having a combination, and it seems to be working out fairly well. I anticipate that you're going to hear from the town clerk soon. She has some concerns about how operating during the pandemic has been difficult for her. So I'll wait for her to get in touch with the board. I'm hoping that would be for the next meeting, but we'll see. You'll hear from her soon.
Okay, well, I have a PO for her for LHS.
Yes.
For town programming, pay town only.
Yes. So I'm sorry I can't share my screen now. So yes, that is for the programming of the for the town election, which also included the school election, but the school is going to pay their portion of the bill, and we are only to pay the portion of the bill that she's proposing in the purchase order.
Okay, so we do have an invoice attached to it, invoice 6522-1. The invoice is for $2804.94, and out of that, we're going to pay $2,048.54, and the school is going to pay $117.50. Correct?
Sounds right.
All right. And where is that going to, yeah, there it is. Okay, so where is that going to hit? Because she didn't put the accounting code.
That's going to go on election. It's in an election line. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll just put election. You can.
There is an election line for it.
All right. I'll move purchase order 1911 to LHS Associates for the town election programming for $2,048.54.
All right. Gonna second that?
I will second that.
Okay, roll call vote. Miles?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Denise? Yes. All right.
And then I'll also move purchase order 1912 to Interware for dog program support, $370.
Okay. Second?
I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what this one is.
Why don't we'll move it and then we can talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
second. I'll second it.
Okay, so this is the program that she uses to do the dog thing, right, Caroline?
Yes, it's the annual fee for that software program.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the dog. All right, gotcha.
Yes.
Licensing, yeah. Okay. Any other questions on that?
Nope.
All right. Roll call vote. Paul?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Denise? Yes. All right. And I have one, yep, from Janeda
Cemetery.
Landscaping.
All right. I'll move purchase order 1727 to Genados Landscaping for $1,000 for Old and Newtown Cemetery spring cleanup.
All
I
right.
will second that.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Miles?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Denise? Yes.
Aha, and here's the.
What's
Okay.
that?
That was the Cintas agreement.
Oh, okay.
Thank you all for that.
Okay. I don't, anything else I have to sign? Are you aware of anything else I have to sign?
There's nothing else to sign, ma'am.
Okay. So then, Recreation Part-Time Director's job description, I had sent it out very late this afternoon. Probably not prepared to vote on it, or did you guys get it?
I saw it come through. It was like
Okay.
3 o'clock maybe.
Yep, it was late this afternoon.
Denise, I did respond to you with
Okay.
my thoughts.
Okay, all right. So why
Yep.
don't you,
I didn't have a chance to really absorb it, but yeah, I did get it.
that's okay. That's okay. Why don't you guys kind of give it a look over, and any suggestions that you want to have changed, we can talk about that, and then go from there. Paul, you know you have a rec meeting tomorrow, right?
I do know that. 5,
But we're not gonna.
5:19 at 6:30, right?
6:30.
Yeah, but this won't be part of the conversation at this point. We'll just tell them it's still in the works. So, okay. All right. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts, and I'll be happy to add those or revise them. Meeting Tuesday night is
Tomorrow.
the rec.
That is right. That's rec. And so this is what I have for an agenda. I just wanted you to see that and comment. Denise, number 3, we can remove that if you want, or we can just say that that's something that the select board's working on. But I think that they're probably going to bring that up, even if it's not on the agenda.
Well, I think that's true, but I also they have to understand that this position is under the board and town administrators, not.
They do know that. They do know that. They're just, I'm sure that they would like to weigh in on it, but they understand that it's going to report not to them.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, leave it on there, that's fine. I'm going to attend the meeting, just as an observer, but if there's something
Well,
that.
it's a joint select board rec meeting, so Denise, I think there's a lot of value in hearing what your experience has been as the ex officio up until the point for Paul to learn more about where we're at now as he meets the committee members and learns about all these things.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so, Miles, too, if you have something to say as a board member, I would, it is a joint meeting, so I would encourage you all to say whatever it is that you feel you need to say.
Yeah, one of the things that I really think that we need more volunteers, because I don't think we have enough to run a successful program. Did you put it on the thing that was going in with the tax bills?
I did. It is in the newsletter, yes, but I also put it to the agenda for tomorrow night. We ought to talk about the need for additional members.
Because we've lost several this year alone, which no replacement.
Yes.
Yeah, and one that was a really big asset. So, yeah, we really have to try to get that fully staffed again, in my opinion. Okay, we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Yep.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. We don't have anybody from community, right? No.
No, it is no community.
And we don't have any non-public or anything, right? I mean, no.
I do not. No.
Is there anything? That's a good thing, huh?
Well, I'll just give you a brief update about welfare. We are in public session, but I will tell you that the 2 cases that we have that are ongoing are continuing to be ongoing. The person that we have, I anticipate that that's going to come to a close by the end of this week's voucher. So
Okay.
that's, I wouldn't say any more in public, but that's the brief status report.
Okay. All right. All right. Comments by board members? Anything that you?
I'm good here.
I'm good.
Okay, so we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
All right.
Second.
Roll call. Miles,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Denise, yes.
Right.
You all said, Salme? Oh, she's,
She said yes.
Muted.
okay, all right.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Night.
night.
You too. Thank you all. Have a good
Enjoy
night.
your time off, Caroline.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All
All
right.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.